but it feels like February 2nd still. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioners Lubes?
Honor Wayne.
Is running, she's running over. Commissioner Joliet is absent with notice. Commissioner Jackson is absent with notice. Commissioner McGillivray is absent with notice. Nelson?
Here.
Hoffman?
Present.
Spiz?
Here.
Gershenson?
Here.
Is here as ex officio. And Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Chair, do you have a comment?
Barely, the
Yes.
skin of our teeth.
Yes.
I would invite us on the stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Hoffman, would you please do the honors today?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. No, not today. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Moving on to the minutes. Hearing
I
and
move to approve the minutes from April 11th, 2023.
seconded by Commissioner Gershenson. Please prompt that vote.
No.
Penny, fun fact, we have a new microphone system. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
She heard them out and all.
I was okay. Could you hear us outside too? That's how loud it is.
I can hear the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, wow.
So Commissioner Lubes, we are now voting on the approval of the minutes.
Well, I would say yes.
And Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Awesome, thank you so much. I would now accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented. And Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Please prompt that vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our first period of public comment, is there anyone here from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee on matters on the agenda today? Seeing none, we'll move right along into our regular agenda. At this time, oh, there you are, Jim. I would like to invite Jim Ryan to give us a legislative update.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, nice to see you on this beautiful day.
Did you bring it with you?
Yeah, it's like this every day in Lansing, isn't it? So, since the last time I was here, we've moved on from focus on policy, as you most all know, that there was a lot of big issues dealt with in the first couple months of the legislature, with right to work and Elliott Larson, all those things kind of taking up all the oxygen in town. Now that the stuff has all been sent to the governor's desk, the focus has turned to the budget. And the House and Senate leadership have committed to trying to get the budget done towards the end of June so that it could be signed before July 4th when they leave town. That's very aggressive. It's been done before, but we'll see what happens. And actually right now, last week and this week, there's been a pause on all policy committee meetings so that everyone can focus on the budget in order to achieve that aggressive goal of getting done by the 4th of July. So things are moving from one house, from subcommittee to committee to one house to the other. There's some good news with respect to the county's revenue sharing is in the budget up 5%. Seems to be agreement on both sides. There is a bill introduced that deals with a revenue sharing trust fund so that we don't have to annually go for these increases. Whether or not that bill passes is yet to be seen. Chairman Woodward and I have done a number of meetings with House and Senate leadership on budget goals for the county. Those conversations have gone well. We'll see if they survive the budget process. There was an increase in child care fund in the juvenile justice package from 50% to 75%, which is positive for the counties, as you all know. And the Indigent Defense Commission funding is still being discussed. However, a bill was passed that said if the state does not fully fund the increase recommended by the Commission for Indigent Defense, then it will revert back to the previous year. So you are kind of held harmless in the event that that state does not fully fund that. So those are some of the key issues being discussed with respect to county interests. And I'll stop there and answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you very much. I have a question about the income tax rollback, and I'm happy to see that the legislature got together and rolled it back, which will help everybody. But then it was suggested maybe by the Attorney General that that this is only a one-year rollback, but I thought the law, from what I read, is based on certain criteria and it'll stay rolled back till something else happens, not.
It's not my understanding. My understanding is it was interpreted that it is only going to be a one-year rollback, the way it was
Interpreted by the Attorney General.
so far. Yeah.
Is that being challenged?
I think it is being, I think someone's taking it to court. I'll have to check and make sure about that.
Okay, just curious. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Easy crowd today.
Lively crowd.
It's the weather that you brought with you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
I'll see you in Lansing.
Yeah, have a safe drive.
Thanks.
Thanks. Moving on to item B, 7B, we've got SEMCOG up here. So I'd like to introduce Amy O'Leary and Cheryl Thuriet, and I apologize if I murdered that last name. Thuriot. Oh, it is French. You never know in Detroit. It's like, yeah. But you're here to give us an update on SEMCOG.
I have some materials as well, if I could ask for your assistance in starting to pass those around. And how are we handling the slides?
Sure.
You should be able to click to the right or
So many things. Anyone look at all the Met Gala outfits from last night?
Weren't they
Is it advancing now? It's advancing now.
But then I just read this horrifying thing about Carl Lagerfeld.
We need it on presentation mode.
I knew nothing about it. I did not know the theme until yesterday. I was like, oh, interesting. It is fun. It's always fun. It's honestly one of my favorite nights of the year.
Okay, is it working? Yep. Thank you. Oh, it was?
Those lines are always in the wrong freaking spot.
Somebody tested that.
At this point. So, for the screen.
Good morning.
I think we're ready. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come to your committee today and have a little conversation about SEMCOG and some of our activities. I'm Amy O'Leary, I'm the Executive Director of SEMCOG, and I've worked with many of you over the years, so nice being back.
And Cheryl Terrio, and I once worked with you guys. But currently I am the Director of External Affairs for SEMCOG. Good to see everybody again.
So we're gonna split our presentation today, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask as we talk or after, whatever works for you. So we are an association of local governments, and this map just shows our service area, which I know many of you are familiar with, but we are at an all-time high of members. So we have 182 cities, villages, townships, counties, intermediate school districts, and community colleges that call themselves members of SEMCOG. So that's a really large number. We're excited about it. Our region represents just about half of the state's population and about half of the GDP in the state of Michigan. So zooming into Oakland County, you'll be able to see the members, the official members of SEMCOG. While the county is a member and we often do activities across the whole county, here are the local governments that are members. In green are the cities, orange villages, and blue are the townships.
And white means they're not, right?
And white means that they're not members, although I can say we've had some very good conversations recently with the city of Pontiac about rejoining SEMCOG, so. We work in a lot of different areas in bringing together local governments in collaboration and technical assistance, and those include transportation, environment, parks and trails work, community economic development, and education. We are an elected official board, as many of you know, many of you participate in, and we focus on really nonpartisan ways of moving the region forward. We tailor our assistance to match the needs of our communities. So while some things may work well for counties, we really try to make sure that whether you're a member, large or small, or education or government, that we have something for everybody and that we're working together as a region on all kinds of different topics. So just a couple minutes in the area of transportation. So we are the designated metropolitan planning organization for Southeast Michigan, which means the federal transportation dollars flow through SEMCOG. Some of the responsibilities that entails is the development of a long-range transportation plan, which we're actually right now in the process of starting, and there's outreach meetings this week on goals for the long-range transportation system in our region. By doing a plan like this really makes us eligible for over $1 billion a year in road funding, which we help manage with those federal aid committees that are at each of the county level. So this chart shows the TIP, which is the 4-year list of projects or amount of money for 4 years going into Oakland County. So this is 23 through 26, and we've done it by type of project. So this is what the Oakland Federal Aid Committee works with. This does not include MDOT or transit investments at this time. So the projects need to be on, for this pot of money, need to be on federal aid eligible roads. And then we just broke it down for your information that the Road Commission receives $167 million a year for their roads, and then broken down into some of the cities that receive direct funding.
Excuse me, Amy, direct funding from the federal government?
Yes,
And why do those communities receive it?
the cities.
Oh, the cities. So townships do
No, townships don't own the roads, so the townships work through the Road Commission.
not. Got it, thank you.
I know many of you are familiar with the fact that we have a lot of data at SEMCOG that hopefully can help you in your decision-making at the county, but this data includes demographic data, so we have community profiles on every community in Southeast Michigan, We have a new regional forecast for Southeast Michigan, and we've broken that up into the 2050 Regional Forecast Explorer, so you can look at your community and what does it look like out to 2050. A number of interactive maps, including pavement condition. We have brand new land cover, so if you're interested in what the land cover is like or what the tree canopy is like in your community, that's brand new, and we have that on our as well as water infrastructure, pedestrian bicycle facilities, trail network. That's the types of data that we have. And we work closely with your GIS group, which is, of course, excellent to work with and making sure that we're working together. One example is our broadband work, which I know many of you have worked with our staff and the Heat Hug and our technical staff on broadband, but we have been working hard on trying to assist the counties with their broadband efforts, including some of the mapping. While the mapping can be a challenge, as you all are familiar with, we do the best we can to be able to have the most up-to-date broadband data available as well. So when it comes to funding, there's a lot of opportunities through SEMCOG that we try to make sure that you as a county know about, and we partner with the county departments on that, as well as the local communities. And we have a few examples, but one is our Transportation Alternatives Program. And that program funds really non-motorized facilities along roads or trails, for example. But it also can do things like sidewalk connections. We have a separate pot of money for sidewalk modernization, we call it. We have a separate pot of money for safety, for pedestrian safety now, and a pot of money for stormwater. So if you want to manage the stormwater coming off of the road system, there's a pot of money for that. So on here you can see some of the awards that have happened in your community when it comes to TAP. And we have a couple of new programs, including the Carbon Reduction Program, which is a new federal program out of the IIJA, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, that we receive federal funds now, and 8 communities in the Road Commission were awarded $5 million in March. So this is a brand new program. We just did some big awards in the last couple of months. And then finally, I know one that you all have taken advantage of, and we appreciate that in some of your communities, and that's out right now, is a call for planning assistance grants. So often we're told, you know, we just need a little bit of dollars to help us do some planning. That often our data has shown has led to great implementation. So those projects are out, and planning dollars are out right now, and you can see that 3 communities in the county were awarded $150,000 in 21 and 22. So this is just the announcement, and the QR code gets you there, but this time our focus is on those different topic areas that you see on the screen. We have $500,000 available, $40,000 plus match for a total of $50,000 per award, same as last year. But really the priority this time is going to be either working with multiple communities together. And I know one, we worked with you all, was like the 9 Mile Road work with Parks Department. Things where multiple communities are working together, whether on a corridor or other issues, whether it was in other cases broadband, or if it's something that's really unique and it could be seen as a pilot. We did see the money going pretty quickly if every community treated it as like an amendment to a master plan to do, EV charging just for one community. If all the money would go really fast with 170 some 180 members. So that's the priorities for this year. And then finally, before I hand it over, is we work a lot in technical assistance. So if you have a community that might be interested in any of those topics, whether it's the planning assistance or the TAP funds, or just other safety, things that we work on in that kind of parks and recreation we've been doing a lot on. If you have communities or you all that have questions about that, we have technical staff that can help answer those questions in that area. And we often go out and look at projects and try and help make recommendations about what would make it a strong TAP application, for example. So that's the service that we offer to our communities as well. All right, I am now gonna turn it over to Cheryl.
Okay, be very afraid I have the clicker. All right, so we are very excited to be partnering with Oakland County and especially the Board of Commissioners. So SIMCOG offers a number of resources. One of them is the university workshops and our training webinars. These are in-person trainings, and there's a QR code here where you can access it easily. And it'll take you to the current list of training programs that have been recorded, and they're available on demand. But some of the resources that are available are looking at how can you fill the gap in broadband access in your communities, or case studies on how to prepare and respond for stormwater and flooding, which we know is a major issue, as well as preparing for state and federal funding and how to put forth your applications for parks and trails. So as the Director of External Affairs, one of the areas that I'm over is the government affairs. And we work very closely with our legislators in both the federal and state government. And one of the, two of the items that you have before you today is the directory of representatives from our region as well, are identified in the bold print. And the other document is the legislative policy platform that was prepared with the voices from elected representatives from local government and county government relative to a number of policy areas that SIMCOG now uses as the platform when we're speaking with your state senators and representatives and our Congress people. And it's very important to note that we use your voices to amplify the policies that we are talking about when we're speaking in Lansing. So your participation is critical and valued. And then at the federal level, if you're aware, the Congress people recently had applications for local projects, community projects, and their priorities. And SIMCOG did letters of support for over 80 communities. Many of them were based in Oakland County. So we support the locals in obtaining funding from Congress as well.
We did put together a list of all of those community projects that are moving forward.
I have one copy that I can share.
That if you're interested in what all, we can send that too as a follow-up if you will. It's pretty nice to be able to see what it. Pardon?
Email is a preferred medium.
Yeah, we can send it to you.
We will.
It's kind of interesting to see.
And before I go on, Amy, did you want to talk about any of the appropriations that we're working on now in Lansing?
Sure, I wish. Is your lobbyist still here? Well, anyway, so we are working hard on legislation, but as was said earlier, it really is budget time. So for the first time, I think in a long time, we've been pretty active in the budget side of things. And one is working on local roads. There are a couple of legislators on both the House and the Senate Transportation Appropriations that want to put money in for local roads, which we have the data to show how poor they are, in need of investment. And so that both the House and the Senate have put that in, so that's exciting. And we have been asking different members of both the administrative side and Commissioner Woodward to be supportive of that initiative, which would put in somewhere between hopefully $150 million to $400 million in local road funding. And then the other one is hopefully going today. On the House side, Leo's budget is going today with a placeholder for what we're hoping is $50 million in green investment. And your staff, county staff have been active with us in this, which is really how to green our region, whether it's addressing the flooding with nature-based solutions in our region, as well as increasing the low tree canopy in our urban areas, and including land conservation and conservation of other pieces of property as well. So there is an ask in the Leo budget, and we've gotten really good support for wanting to do that. I don't know what kind of dollar amount will be with it, but actually we just got asked yesterday if we could get legislators to sign on to that and in a group letter of support for that appropriation. So I have last night reached out to Commissioner Woodward and well, over here too, to see if there's something that you all could do to let your legislators know that this is a good thing, and if they could sign on in support of that letter, it would be really appreciated, so.
Thank you.
Point of, just chair's privilege. So I know the Leo budget, Will Snyder is from the west side of the state. But Ranjiv Puri is the chair of the Transportation Committee.
Yes.
So how has you been with working on that?
Yep, supportive, and the Canton Township Supervisor, Supervisor Anne Marie Hudak is really involved with SEMCOG, so she's been speaking with him too about being, how important this is, so.
And he's championing that?
Yes, along with Jason Morgan, Jason's really the lead.
Oh, not the chair.
He's vice chair,
He
but
is.
Jason's been really the one trying to get this moving,
Okay.
so.
It's really important to work through the chairs.
Yes, right, but he's been working with the chair, he's just my contact.
Sure, okay.
All right, thank you. And so we definitely encourage your involvement and engagement with SEMCOG. One way to get a number of bits of information and resources is through our bi-weekly publication. It's sent electronically. It's called the Regional Update. Are you all getting it already? If not, we can sign you up. And also there is opportunities to be involved through an appointment to our various task force, and that's where we do some of the nuts and bolts of the development of the policies that we put forward as our overall platforms. And we have a number of programs as well that you can share with your local communities. One of them is Walk, Bike, Drive Safe. And that's currently going on with safety messages, plus giveaways and other events. And they give away bike lights and other fun stuff. Another program that just wound up was One Water for the safety and preservation of our water resources. Shop Local is extremely popular. Our staff goes out to the local communities and actually films and produces a video of local shops. We're expanding that to include local attractions, so it could be parks and other amenities that you have in your local communities, and it's available at no cost. We have Park Finder and Trail Explorer, which are apps where you can locate different trails throughout the region, the 7-county region. And if you haven't already, make sure you download the SEMCOG app so that you can have access to a number of resources, as well as when the meetings are, and just all the information through our website, and it's really easy to get to through the app. And I think I also shared with you, before I go on, some of the local communities in Oakland County that we have. Oh, I told you. Okay. For the Shop Local, some of the communities that have benefited from it from Oakland County include Oak Park, Orion and Oxford, South Lyon, Wixom, Lyon Township. So we're always happy to go out and see some more and share that with other communities as well. And I also shared with you upcoming meetings that we're going to have. We have the General Assembly meetings that are, no, it's not there. You were on it. Oh, okay. That's what I'm in charge. Okay. Upcoming events, including member meetups. We're very excited about the Gordie Howe Bridge Tour that's coming up on May 17th. June 22nd will be the General Assembly meeting. That's where all the delegates and alternates are invited to attend, as well as elected officials. Not only the delegate or alternate can vote, but all of you are invited to attend the meetings. And there's another one that's going to be very exciting in this area, the member meetup on July 19th at the fabulous Rochester Hills Innovation Hills Park. And there's many ways in which you can stay in touch or communicate or even share with your contacts. The information available through SIMCOG, that includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel, which is YouTube.com/SEMCOG. And thank you for your time, and we will welcome any additional questions.
Any questions, Commissioner?
If we want our community to be involved with the filming for Shop Local, who do we contact?
You can contact me, Cheryl Theriot, so that's Theriot, Theriot. It's easy to remember to spell it but right, at simcog.org.
And I think Clausen has been in contact, I can't remember, but
It's definitely a growing
sounds
list, but
really
we-
familiar.
We can make sure.
Then my other, do you do anything with our senior population? I know years ago we had an aging in place program.
Right, it's, right now, it's more about integrating aging into our planning work. So like, the long-range plan that we're doing right now is going to have a component of, it's one of the largest issues our region's going to be endeavoring on, so.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Good. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to receive and follow this SEMCOG presentation. Commissioner Loop, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Let's prompt that vote. While the vote's being prompted, thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's see if you're paying attention.
Damn millennials always on their phones.
Carry of 6809.
Yeah, thank you very much. Moving on to item C, I would invite our good friend Walt Herzing up to present on the establishment of an Oakland County Acorn to Oak Youth Mini Grant Program. No, what?
Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
I asked somebody else to join, Susan Holiday from Leadership
Welcome,
Oakland,
welcome.
since if the board passes this resolution, the program would be housed at Leadership Oakland. So I hope that's okay that I asked.
It is okay, and I apologize, I forgot to take a motion to, yes, Commissioner Kirshenson, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. I don't have any paper to pass out, so Commissioner Spiz, you'll be pleased. I also
Gold
wish
star for the day.
I kind of wish I had a cool name that I could say my name is that you could, spell it by saying thinking the riot or something like that. Anyway, thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak about the Acorn to Oak grant program, which was announced by County Executive Coulter during the State of the County speech, which you'll remember. And this idea was really inspired by the accomplishments of young people throughout Oakland County, some of whom we highlighted during the address, the videos, and the county executive talked about. And the notion behind this is that this would be a mini grant program of up to $1,000 to people aged 8 to 18 to, as the county executive said, help them pursue their passions, their talents, and their futures. So these grants could be used, some examples of the kinds of things these grants could be used for: one-time expenses that are educational, entrepreneurial, creative in nature, seed money for a nonprofit or business endeavor, for example, or funding to be able to participate in a national competition, or equipment to participate in an extracurricular activity. Speaking as a marching band parent and an orchestra parent, I know sometimes that can be very expensive for folks to be able to have access to musical instruments, but there are many other examples, I'm sure. Sports, absolutely.
I just had to throw it out there. I bet it gets hockey too.
It does. Right, and not everybody's able to afford that. That's how much?
500 for a good one.
Wow, well, I'm glad I didn't play baseball. Soccer, we just needed some shin guards, and so this resolution does propose that the grant be housed at Leadership Oakland, which is a nonprofit I think everybody here is familiar with. So many of our colleagues here at the county have gone through their 9-month leadership program. And the resolution proposes there be a steering committee of 2 people appointed by the county executive and 2 by the chair of the county commission to help develop and implement the policy and the program at Leadership Oakland. So I thought I would ask Susan to just say a few words about Leadership Oakland and why this organization is so well positioned to house and administer this program.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Susan Holliday, I'm the Executive Director for Leadership Oakland. I've been there for almost 11 years. This ties in really nicely with a program we implemented about 15 years ago called our Junior Leadership Oakland program, which is a 3-day workshop, a free workshop to any high school student in Oakland County. And so we teach them some leadership. We actually do a field trip and go out to a couple companies in the area. So we've been running this program for 15 years. And we have great relationships with all the school districts and the counselors to recruit. Because one thing is we'll have maybe this money to give out, but how do we market that and get the information to the right individuals so that they can apply for that funding? So we've got some great relationships, obviously, with the county, but through Oakland schools and the counselors to get, the marketing information out. I have 2 examples of junior low students. We had one lady go through this program. She was a junior. The next year, she started a cupcake business. And we hired her the next year for our annual event and served her cupcakes. And then we have a gentleman who was actually junior low 1, and he started a nonprofit to help veterans, and every year would hold, it was either a race or a walk to raise money to help veterans in the area. He since then has come back and spoke to every one of our classes and just recently went through our 9-month program. So we see these kids going through our junior low that have these passions, and this will give them an opportunity to do something with that and for us to help them do that. So I presented it to my board as an idea on Friday. I had 3 or 4 board members already raise their hand, we're in, we want to be part of this. So I've got full commitment from my board of directors as well. And we're excited to partner with Oakland County and with the commissioners to see if we can make this a success.
Well, I'm excited to hear about this on many levels. The integration of Leadership Oakland with us is very important. We've somehow felt disconnected, and we get a visit from you once a year, but this would be an ongoing working relationship, so I think that's great. And my big concern is how would the kids find out about the whole, right? And then whatever document you put together, I think you should send to the commissioner so that we can announce this program in our local communities about the 15-year-old one as well, which I have completely forgotten about. But that one and then the new one would be really helpful.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would be happy to. We're still recruiting for this junior low, which will start in June. So I can get that information out to the commissioners to put within their communities.
Great.
Any other questions or points, Commissioner?
Push the button.
Wait, I have not looked at that, yes.
No. Well, thank you for coming in. I'm intrigued by this program. But the reason I asked my question about the softball and about bats is, what is the true scope? Because it could grow and creep on you and get into things. Do I think a bat should be covered? No, by the way, right? Or any real sports equipment, I don't think should be covered. I'm concerned who's going to define the scope? Is it going to be the 4 individuals that are on this committee that define the overall scope? Or is it something that is kind of already rough outlined?
No, it's not rough outlined immediately. Okay. So yes, it would be the steering committee working with Leadership Oakland to define the scope of the kinds of activities that could be funded, the process for applying and the process for making decisions around who gets grants and how much.
So would that come back in front of this board for approval, or would it be done administratively is my next question.
Yeah, no, that would be.
Because that's one of my things is the scope. I understand the program and I think it makes some sense.
Right.
But if the scope creeps too much, I have worries.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be relatively narrow. I know $250,000 is a lot of money, but it's really not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be drained quickly and go to things that we may not, and maybe the executive may not see as truly being beneficial for his goal. Because I think his goal is, the Oakland 80 is really what's driving this, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of that stuff might creep outside of the scope to get to that objective. is my word.
Yeah, I think we really have to really define what qualifies,
Agreed.
right? It's gotta be very specific on what those examples are and what those qualifications are. And then as a committee who reviews those, we need to be very strict on, does that fall within those guidelines and are there other ways, if that doesn't qualify, are there other ways that they can get the funding they need to do what they're asking for?
So is there a way that once that is all developed, can it come back in front of the Board of Commissioners, we can make a review and a decision? Because to me, this is very 100,000 feet level discussion, which I think most of us would say, okay, it makes sense. But once you get down to the weeds, a lot of times like, no, that doesn't make sense. I know we'll have two commissioners, I believe we'll have two commissioners on there that
You'd have two
Correct.
that can bring some more input, but in a lot of cases, when there's two, you don't always get all 19 of us to talk about it, because it's either brought to a committee like this, or it's brought to another committee, and not all of us get our input. And like I said, I'm worried about it going off the rails.
I see.
Yeah.
So is that possible?
That's a good question.
Cause I agree with that,
Well, it certainly hadn't been something where we had kind of envisioned coming back and asking for approval of the scope, if that's what
Understand.
you're, if
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
you're
asking.
requesting. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of reporting on what we're doing periodically and then adjusting it as needed would have been something that we would have envisioned, but not necessarily approval of the scope.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. You wanted approval, not just,
This is, I just want to get it with, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner,
No,
what
I
I'm
was,
using here.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking right now, I mean, because a report is a report, and no offense to all the other reports we're supposed to get, we normally don't get reports. I hate to say that, we ask for reports, we don't get the damn reports.
That is true.
Right? So that's my only concern with that.
That's fair.
And it's easier to fix on the ground floor than it is later too. So that is my preference, and I do have one additional question on top of that. Is this a one-year program, or is it gonna go out into perpetuity?
Right, we're asking for the funding for 1 year, but yes, we would like to see this continue.
So it would be part of the budget process going
It would
forward?
be part of the budget process going forward from revenue sharing funds, so, yes.
All right, thank you.
Exactly.
Commissioner Nelson, did you have
Thank you. Out of the $250,000 for the mini grants, what is the estimated cost to administer and implement the program?
Yeah, that's a good question. We were looking at 10 to 15% is an overall fee to administer it. So doing the applications, the reviews, the administering of the funds, that would be part of Leadership Oakland's responsibility.
Okay, so and just one additional question to kind of piggyback off of what was previously just asked. So at this point, it's coming before us to appropriate the $250,000 for this amazing mini grant program. I'm all about investing in youth, but it appears that you have zero details in how this is gonna look. With no, if I'm hearing, with no expectations of coming back to the board to communicate what the program actually entails. So am I hearing that correct? We're moving forward with appropriating this money with very limited, if any, information on the details of what this program looks like. That seems a little backwards in process to me, respectfully so.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing here is that you definitely like more details of what the scope of the projects would be. So we can bring that back, that's for approval at that point, sure. If that's the preference of this committee, we can absolutely do that.
I suppose,
I'd like to make an amendment based on that and add an amendment to the resolution.
well, I'm wondering if that says, it sounds like you're gonna come back for funding on an annual basis anyway.
It's true.
Which is kind of a, I guess, no on direction, right? No?
that's for the finance.
Sure.
We wanna continue the program. I don't,
Well,
you can introduce a resolution.
let's get clarification here. So we're approving this program to go forward. You are then gonna put 2 members of the executive team, 2 members of commissioners, anyone else?
And then 2 from my
2
board.
for leadership. And then are you proposing to come back and tell us what,
Yeah, absolutely.
So they are proposing to come back and fill
I'm
us
sorry,
in.
that's what I thought was being asked
Right, and we will
for,
have
so-
representation from the commissioners, whoever you select, to be part of that process.
Correct. That sounds okay with me, but
And I'm sorry, I that's what I thought was being asked for here, and that's absolutely what I was suggesting.
This is not a project that we're going to be micromanaging, but we will have representation, so I think it's great to empower the people that we're appointing to this committee.
I would tend to agree. Any other questions? Yes,
I'd like to make an amendment.
okay.
I would like to add to the existing resolution be it further resolved that the committee will come back in front of the Board of Commissioners once they've set the scope and boundaries for final review or approval before it goes live.
Well, didn't they just say they were going to?
I'm confused.
Yeah, I would just like to put it in writing that we're doing it versus just saying. Words mean a lot, but when it's in writing, it means much more. No offense.
Anyway, take
I support it and I don't have any problem with that resolution. I don't think it's micromanaging. I think we're giving some input to what the final product is. We don't wanna tell you what to do and that type of thing, but like Commissioner Spiz says, I mean, it could be this wide, So I think we'd like to look at it. I don't think that's too much to ask.
So when you say go live, the suggestion is before we actually market it and solicit
Right.
funds to bring it back for review with this group.
Could you rephrase or just restate your amendment?
Why don't we take, can we take a couple minute break?
Sure.
And then get it written so everyone can see it?
Yes, that's fair. Fair request.
At ease.
What are we gonna do?
Recess?
Bonuses.
Yeah.
Is she still working?
Let's get into that, guys.
God bless her.
We're gonna come back. Hi, everyone. The amendment, I found it on the agenda, so if you go back to the agenda screen, you'll
Got
see
it.
it underneath C.
Written in there? See it written?
But
Oh, no, I actually don't see it, never
I see it, the Spiz amendment.
mind.
I see that,
it
but
just
there's
doesn't
nothing.
say anything.
Yeah, it's fine.
Blank, there you go.
Great amendment.
Not that it's not there.
The world is
It's
yours.
Here.
Okay.
You put it in the body of the, where you put the resolution, right?
Yeah.
And you saved it.
Well, it's up, it shows up now.
Mine froze.
Give it a minute.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, you
Is
gotta
it
click
blank?
on it and say
Oh.
something.
Technology. I have to love it.
Nothing. I mean, I can't open.
Where is it? Oh, there it is.
Did you generate? Oh, I think I know what the problem is. The files,
Draft resolution generate.
yep.
Remember the days in which we used to print it out, to print out
Yeah.
12
Are
copies?
you doing it?
Spread it.
Sometimes it was faster.
Those were the good old days.
I
See the
remember the
words.
legislature.
Those were the good old
They printed
days.
like 110 copies, and we were tearing through forests.
Okay, now refresh.
Now refresh.
Now refresh.
I'll refresh.
There it is.
You guys don't do amendments often enough for me to remember how to do this.
Was it a challenge?
No.
Penny, what was this handout for?
So it'd be draft resolution, I believe that you put on.
Yes.
She's thinking.
That's not what Michelle?
Something's loading. Ah, okay, I see. Does everyone have it?
Yep, I have it.
Mhm. Yep.
Everyone got it up. Okay, would anyone like to talk about the amendment? Commissioner Cherry.
So I would, I definitely understand the intent. I think the board being able to review and approve scope of the program before implementation makes sense. I've talked with the administration will have a scope that can be reviewed and attached to this amendment prior to the next board meeting. It will be presented to both caucuses beforehand. So I would recommend not supporting this amendment. We will have an amendment on the, assuming this can get to the board floor, amendment adding the scope, attaching the scope to the resolution. And then both caucuses can to discuss it prior to that if we need to make any additional minor tweaks. And as soon as that scope's ready, send it around and we can have amendment to this resolution capturing the scope. So I think it gets to the same thing, slightly different than this, and can let the program move forward more expeditiously.
Commissioner Hoffman.
I think it's the duty of this committee to review things before they're implemented. I don't think it's too much to ask to have it come back to us, let us review it, let's talk about it, because Chairman Woodward's suggestion would be, we'll just add the scope to the original resolution and vote on it, so you can vote up or down. If we wanna make some changes, we shouldn't be conducting that type of meeting at the general board meeting. We should do it in committee. This is our job. We'll just review it. And I don't know what, and there's no sense of urgency here, I don't think. So if it takes a little bit longer, I mean, I think we all support this. But I think there's some questions and we'd like to see them. And I mean, I can't believe the administration would even have an issue with saying, let the committee look at it again. And we're not managing it once the program is in place. That's your job, just go do it.
Commissioner Hershenson.
Well, the county executive did talk about this program in great detail at the State of the County. So I really do feel I have a good sense of what this program is. And I think rather than bring it back to this committee, if you have suggestions, you'll discuss it with your caucus, and I'm very comfortable with that process, rather than coming back to us and delaying it at least a month. I think that this is a good compromise.
Or have a meeting before our board meeting.
Any other questions or comments? The motion on the floor is on the amendment. Would you please call the roll? Or I just, it's fine.
Gotta push save.
Oh, it didn't pop up. So this is on the Spiz amendment?
Correct.
Yes.
Just the amendment.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chair, you have 2 yeas, 5 nays. Motion failed.
Okay. Motion on the floor is the adoption of the resolution. Would you please call or prompt that one?
Clarification, what are we voting on right now?
The resolution not as adopted, so as presented.
The amendment was voted down.
I do too.
So can I make a comment before we make the final vote?
Okay.
As I previously shared, I do support the Acorn to Oak grant program. I think it's important. I love that we're highlighting and investing in the youth, but I also don't feel comfortable supporting something at this time knowing that there's information that is coming. It's not to say that I don't plan on moving forward with supporting this once that information is provided, but it's important and it's a critical part of the process to be able to have all the information at hand before making an informed vote. And unfortunately, I just feel like right now, there's very limited information to go off of as of today, but it sounds like in good faith that as we lead into our board meeting, that information will be provided. So at this time, I'm confident that we'll move this through and out of the committee, but at this time, I just can't support it due to the lack of information to make that informed vote.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sure.
So what will the process be then? Will it do as you suggested?
So let me restate what the process is, and correct me if I say anything wrong. The administration will send the scope, and if there's other desired information, just send to the administration that will have that information. And will be presented to all the commissioners, so the caucuses are an opportunity to address that. I will say if there are issues that the Democratic caucus is still not ready to advance this, we will hold the item. But I'm confident that we will have a scope that's aligned with the objectives of this program to answer Commissioner Nelson's question, which I think are completely valid. I would urge people to to advance this to the floor so that that we can get that information. If that information is unsatisfactory, and I said specifically to the Democratic caucus to make sure it's satisfactory, then we will hold it and we will pull it off the board agenda. But I'm confident that the administration can put it together and do that.
Madam Clerk.
Kirshenson?
We're voting on
the resolution as presented.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 4 yeas, 3 nays.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. It's been recommended and forwarded to finance. Moving on to item D. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate
I
it.
love that we're stretching that oak theme as much as possible.
Sprouty notes.
It's just, yeah. Moving on to item D, grant acceptance with the State of Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs for the 2023 Oakland County Survey and Remonumentation Grant. Welcoming our wonderful clerk, Lisa Brown, and Frederick Miller, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend and forward to finance from Commissioner Hoffman, second by Commissioner Reeves.
Thank you, and good morning. So this is just asking for us to be able to accept the grant money from the state for us to continue the maintenance. If you remember, or for those who weren't here, last year was our first year of maintenance. I guess maybe just a little brief explanation. So with every recording in the Register of Deeds office, $4 is put aside and put into the towards remonumentation, which goes to the state. And then from that, so we are a donor county. From that, the state, issues grants to different counties. So as I said, we're now in the second year of maintenance, and this is just asking that can we please accept our money back.
Commissioner Hoffman.
So the remonumentation was complete in the county.
We finished that, the year before, whatever year it was,
Okay.
2021. So now we're in the maintenance phase. So, and our surveyors are basically focusing, they're going like kind of township through township or city, and starting with the northern part of the county and working their way down
Okay,
and across, so.
thank you.
Yeah, and this is surveying, so if anybody's like, what's remonumentation? If you ever, sometimes you might see on the ground, it's like that big around silver thing, and it'll have like a logo on it, and it's to we mark corners and everything to make sure our lines are correct when somebody's property description, making sure like things, because sometimes they move, things shift in the earth, and also, although this hasn't happened so much lately, but once in a great while, like a snow plow will destroy one, so that would have to be fixed, that sort of thing, so.
I actually have one of those in my house. Because
In your
if
house?
you're.
In the house?
Seriously, because if you're in my living room, you're in Rose Township,
Yeah.
but then you walk into the kitchen, you're in Highland.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Questions, comments, concerns? There's a motion on the floor. Would you please call that? Prompted.
Actually, if they can't put the actual monument where they need to, they do make notes of that and say, so that there's not one in your house.
Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go get our money. Moving on to item D. Sorry. E. Oh, yes, I saw that and still said D. This is a Parks and Recreation First Amendment to the agreement with the Charter Township of Springfield for Mill Pond Dam maintenance and repair. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board from Commissioner Kirshenson, seconded by Commissioner Spitz. Welcome. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. Thanks, Mr. Chair. In anticipation of Commissioner Spitz's comments about dam reports, we brought you a dam agreement this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melissa has been overseeing this project it's been many years in the making, so I'm going to hand it over to her.
And this project has come before this committee many times with the grant funding that we received. But what the item is today is that it is the First Amendment and will be the only amendment to the agreement that we have with Springfield Township for the operation and management of the dam. So with that project moving forward, hopefully breaking ground later this month, we took a look at the agreement and we just made a few updates to it that talked about the slight change in the wording from operation and maintenance to removal and restoration, made sure that was included in the agreement, reaffirmed the 55-45% split that we have with the township for the project, and then essentially a clause in here that says that once the property lines are redrawn, when the project is completed, the new boundary line between the township park and our park will be the new river once it's reestablished. So once that happens, the agreement essentially dissolves because we no longer need a joint management agreement for a dam that is no longer in place.
Some questions, comments, concerns? Sweet. Would you please prompt that vote? And vote. Damn it. I did a tour once at the Hoover Dam. The tour guide was like, welcome to my dam tour. After the dam tour, you can visit the dam gift shop.
So it must have been before 9/11.
Ask me all your damn questions.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Item F, we'll keep our good friends up there, license agreement and consent to work with Royal Oak Township for the Macro Park project. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board. Commissioner Lubes and Commissioner Nelson, hello.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. So last fall, the Board of Commissioners approved a $15 million appropriation for our Healthy Communities Park and Outdoor Recreation Investment Plan. Incorporated within that plan were several grants to select targeted local governments that were disproportionately impacted during the pandemic. Royal Oak Township was one of those communities and one a great deal of need in terms of investment in recreational infrastructure. So in both these cases, this one and the one following, these communities don't have a lot of internal resources in terms of planning and project management and grant writing. And so Parks and Recreation will be providing the project management, the planning, the construction management. And so this is a license agreement rather than a grant agreement because we'll be expending the funds under the direction of the township with their collaboration and the planning with their residents. In this case, it will provide funding for a new universally accessible playground at Macro Park, which is one of the few remaining parks in the township of Royal Oak. And it will be a wonderful thing. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Gershenson.
So I think this is great. I'm 100% supportive, but I do have a question. So SEMCOG talked about having money for communities for planning. Would this be something that Royal Oak Township could take advantage of?
Probably not for a project of this scope. They're looking at kind of broader, more multi-community projects for that planning assistance program, like the 9 Mile Pathway project that they funded that we're currently managing. So for something this small, they probably wouldn't qualify.
But they may not even be members of SEMCOG. I'm not sure about that, so. But anyway, I think it's something good to bring to their attention.
We certainly will. We've been working pretty closely with them.
Commissioner Spiz, I see you on the.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To build off Marcia's question, would it be something that we could apply for to cover some of the $300,000 costs and $400,000 in the next one? Is the planning? I know it'd be only a small portion of it.
Reimbursement for that?
Yeah,
Well,
for the planning portion.
the planning assistance grant, is specifically focused on planning. For a playground, there's not a whole lot of planning. There's a little bit of a public engagement to make sure that people are, cool with the pieces that we're picking and that we're putting in. But the planning portion of it is relatively small, which is why it's easy for our staff to just kind of absorb.
Okay, just thought I'd raise it.
And construction, project management, all of that design.
I do have more specific questions. 15 years, where did the 15-year number come from for an agreement that they would maintain it after installation for only 15 years?
We worked this out with Corporation Counsel and consulted with Guidehouse. I believe that may have something to do with those guidelines, but I can double check.
Please double check. And what if they don't? Because I didn't see anything about clawbacks or anything else in there. If they don't, there's a termination clause in the contract, but doesn't really say if they don't maintain. What, after 3 years it goes into disrepair and is destroyed for whatever reason?
Well, obviously repossession is not an option for a playground.
Agreed.
And the community itself is not in a position financially to provide much of a, the way of a penalty, but I can
I don't
certainly
disagree
ask.
with anything you just said, but
It
the
may be-
15-year drove me to think that way.
Sure.
Because if there's no option to do any of that because of certain reasons, then why do we put a time frame on it at all?
I will ask that and get back to you, Commissioner.
All right, I have the same question on the next one too.
We used, Jody from Corp Counsel used a model template from another agreement, which I can't say off the top of my head which one it was.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lubes, did you? No? Okay. No else? Cool. There's a motion on the floor. Would you please take the vote? Maybe I'll learn what phrase to say.
Just because.
Yep.
Okay.
So, my keys, it still isn't working.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item G, license agreement and consent to work with the city of Hazel Park for the Green Acres Park project. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board. Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Hello.
Well, again, so very similarly to the last item you voted upon, this one is for the city of Hazel Park for Green Acres Park. There again, another universally accessible playground, some additional park amenities, and I think some wayfinding signs, et cetera, up to $400,000 to be expended with our assistance from our staff for planning, project management, design, et cetera.
Questions, comments, concerns?
My question's the same as the previous ones.
Would you like a second similar answer?
No. I expect the exact same answer.
Then that being said, would you please call the roll? Let's just try to refresh. Take the vote. I'm gonna say call the roll, but it's just gonna be pop the question from the vote.
Commissioner Gershenson, she's gonna do it by voice.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Sure
you.
you have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Awesome, thank you both very much. Moving on to agenda item H, Human Resources implementing the Salary Administration Plan second quarterly report for fiscal year 2023, as these titles are long. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board. Commissioner Lubes, seconded by, well, I'll second it. Can I do that?
You're not supposed to, but I'll
Oh,
second
okay, well, thank you very much, Commissioner. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. In front of you this morning is the second quarterly report for fiscal year 2023 for salary grade review updates of the HR department's salary administration plan. These studies were completed between January and March of 2023. And the impacted classifications creates 3 new classifications, 2 within the sheriff's office, 1 within parks, 1 salary grade change of 1 classification, no change in title, affecting a classification in the sheriff's office, and then 1 title change and salary grade change for a classification that impacts the circuit court and probate court. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Commissioner Spiss, is that a big question?
Yes.
It is, wow, what is that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question isn't really related to the dollar amount, it's more on, we just did, I say we, maybe my time is going fast. We just did a countywide salary evaluation, so why are, I wouldn't expect to see this many come in front of us for changes, that's really my question.
So the classification and compensation study is now your second year past implementation, but that evaluation actually took place 3 years prior. So with changes in COVID and positions that have changed due to the VSIP separation, jobs are continually changing. So they're still have that opportunity to request a review of their salary grade placement.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Lubes.
I'm just curious, it says a process for departments and employees to request a review. Was this a request by a department or an employee for the change?
So let's see, the sheriff's office for the sheriff administrative specialist was a request by the department. The supervisor, sheriff property and evidence, and the inmate caseworker was a request by the employees. Parks operations coordinator was a request from Parks and Recreation. And for the circuit and probate court, it's kind of a unique situation. The Human Resources Department in the last quarterly report had studied the court clerks at the district courts and then reached out to the circuit and probate court to study the court clerks within those 2 courts.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? All right, would you please prompt that vote?
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Awesome, thank you very much, thank you. Moving on to, I think that's the end of our regular agenda. So is there anyone from the public who would now like to address us? Nope. All right, any other business? That being the case, I'm going to move to adjourn the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee at 10:43 in the morning. 53 in the morning. Thanks, everyone. It's a big agenda. Okay. The mic is still live.
I'm waiting for it to go off.
Yeah, it's gonna be a short.
I was gonna ask a question about the agenda.
I know you missed anyway. I feel that.
Or
Amen.
so you'll have to go in. When, I don't supervise.
Yeah, I feel that way
Do you
too.
have any needs to meet anytime in the very near future that you know? of? Okay, that is a very good
So
thing.
my Nancy, who died in her sister Jan, came in
Okay.
from California this morning at 6 a.m. So I have to pick up the dog.